Joining us is Alfoneh from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, a senior fellow who has just authored Persian Truths and American Self-Deception. Ali, thank you for coming back on the show.
Much for your kind invitation.
All right, let me ask you, they're using the word framework. What is your first impression of what you know now?
Well, I have to say I was surprised by how generous the U.S. government and the 5+1 group has been towards Tehran. It seems as if that they have given into most, if not all, the demands that Tehran had been raising for the past 10 months or so. So I have to say I am surprised. I honestly am not so sure that the Obama administration has done the right thing here.
Okay, first of all, let's go through some of the things that have surprised you here.
So first of all, I was surprised that there is not going to be any dismantlement of some parts of the nuclear infrastructure, which has caused a lot of concern in Washington. That is one source of surprise, I have to say. Second part, I think it's also remarkable that the 5+1 group is now offering Tehran immediate lifting of all financial sanctions. The Obama administration had argued that a gradual approach would have been better. In other words, if Tehran shows good behavior, it will be rewarded with a gradual lifting of financial sanctions. Now it seems as if Tehran is getting immediate sanction relief and all the financial sanctions are being removed at once. This, I think, is also very dangerous because then in a couple of years from now, Tehran would not have too many incentives to deliver upon what it has promised. So these are some of the elements that surprised me most, taking a look at the agreement. And finally, I have to say that the fact that research and development was one of those issues that, here in Washington, many people were concerned about that. But it seems that the regime in Tehran has now been allowed to conduct research to improve the quality and standard of its facilities, and now can enrich uranium much better and much more efficiently than the case has been before. So that too is a source of concern and surprise, I have to say.
All right. What about the selling of this? I mean, we had some good quotes from the president. If Iran cheats, the world will know. And then the foreign minister, the foreign minister saying,
right.
All right.
Well, you see, the president, first of all, is trying to create the false dichotomy between a deal, which may not be to full satisfaction of the United States, and war. Now, I actually believe that this is a false dichotomy. An alternative to a bad deal would have been a good deal, and a good deal would have been a deal which probably would need slightly more financial pressure from the U.S. against the regime in Tehran. And we also know that the regime would actually come back to the negotiation table. So, claiming that the alternative to a bad deal is war is, in my opinion, false. Apart from this, the verification and control mechanisms, they may work, the first year, even the second year, but after that, things are much more difficult to control, just like the case was with the North Koreans. And we also know that a few years down the road, when foreign companies are investing in Iran, when Iran is reintegrating into the global financial system, it would be very, very difficult for the United States and the 5+1 groups to agree with each other and agree with other countries to impose that type of financial sanctions which brought the Islamic Republic to the negotiation table in the first place. So I think the president is likely to have a very, very hard time selling these arguments to Congress here in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to sell this at home. We talked about some of the reasons behind this. Are they still obvious for you today? I mean, do you feel the last time you joined us, we felt that we discussed whether or not this was a political momentum, a personal momentum, legacy, and also ambition of John Kerry?
I still do think so. I do believe that, in the old days, the pharaohs of Egypt, they used to build pyramids. In our time, U.S. president like President Obama and Mr. Kerry, they are trying to claim that they have solved a global issue, which is that of the Iranian nuclear crisis. But I also am deeply concerned that it is a very, very short-sighted approach. But maybe they are perfectly happy with that. Maybe they are happy as long as the crisis does not occur, as long as they themselves are in office. As long as President Obama is in the White House, there should not be a nuclear bomb made in Iran. When he no longer is in office, that's a totally different issue. And the poor person who is going to replace President Obama in the White House is going to have the headache of dealing with that crisis. But postponing a crisis, I'm not so sure it's such a good idea from U.S. perspective, because it's also starting all sorts of other dynamics in the Middle East region, which are very, very undesirable from a Western point of view.
I want to ask you, you talked about what you thought a good deal would contain. Was a good deal possible here, do you think so? Because some people have said, it looked like Iran was going to get a nuclear weapon anyway, and maybe this is a way to at least stall it and do it under different circumstances.
Well, had the U.S. administration to resolve, I genuinely believe that a better deal could have been achieved. I genuinely believe that the same financial sanctions, particularly which brought the Islamic Republic to the negotiation table, could have been utilized in order to force the regime to give further concessions. But those models were simply not explored. None of that, was tried by the U.S. government. And I have a very hard time blaming Iran for getting a good deal. I think they have done a very good job from their point of view. What I think the U.S. voters should be concerned about and disappointed about is that the U.S. government has done such a poor job of bargaining in the Middle Eastern market.
Yeah, the bargaining, as you say, they could have stepped away and didn't really use that bargaining tool at all.
Exactly, and the president could have played a very elegant role by telling Iranians that, forgive me, if you don't make a deal with me, you have to deal with Congress, which would be much worse.
Yeah, maybe you used that already. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Ali Alfoneh, who is from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. He's a senior fellow, and he just authored The Persian Truths, An American Self-Deception.